Okay, girls, so this book, Game Changers, I also got at the library. It's the story of Venus and Serena Williams, and both of them are tennis players. They're professional, and so I thought maybe since we like to play tennis that you would be interested in it. But they are two sisters, and we're going to read about their story. Venus and Serena Williams, V and Mika, two peas in a pod, best friends. Everybody who saw them knew they were as close as two sisters could be. They grew up in the shadows of each other. First, Venus was born in June of 1980. Little sister Serena came right behind her in September of 1981. Whatever Venus did, Serena followed. So when their father took Venus to the court to begin lessons, Serena begged to go along. 6 days a week they rose before the sun. Sleepy-eyed, the girls rolled out of the bed they shared, climbed into their dad's run-down VW bus, and squeezed between their three older sisters, rackets and a shopping cart filled with tennis balls and brooms. Between the early morning dark and the first light of the day, the girls stretched, warmed up, then swept the courts clean of broken glass and trash before their first practice of the day began. Neighborhood folks laughed at a father, Richard, with tennis ambitions and a Compton address, but Richard's dreams soared far beyond the rough and tumble streets outside of Los Angeles County, California. From the beginning, tennis was a family affair, first with the three oldest sisters. When they lost interest, the younger girls stepped in. Richard practiced with Venus on one court, while their mother hit with Serena on the others, the cheers of their sisters on the sidelines. So their dad, Richard, had tennis ambitions, which means goals and hopes for his kids to play tennis. Even though he was from an area that tennis wasn't very common, or other things in the neighborhood might cause people to look down on them and think that they couldn't play tennis or that they wouldn't be very good at it, but he kept at it. He was persistent. It wasn't long before their father's dreams became their own. Venus and Serena didn't have time for friends or sleepovers or trips to the mall. Tennis filled their days. Side by side, they whispered into the night. "Do you really think I can do it?" they'd ask each other. "Do you really think I have a chance?" Sound asleep, tennis filled their dreams. "If I didn't play tennis, I don't know where I'd be," Venus told everyone. They threw footballs to improve their serves, tossed rackets into the air to build strength, and chased secondhand tennis balls so flat they learned to run faster to hit their low bounce. Not having expensive training equipment and professional coaches meant they had to make up their own drills. Off the courts, they worked to improve their speed with track and their flexibility with ballet. Do you think that ballet would help them be better tennis players?
Yeah.
Yes. When gunshots ran out in the distance, Richard reminded them, "Never mind the noise, just play." By the time Venus was 4, she could hit 500 tennis balls at every practice. By the time she was 7, she began playing in junior tournaments. Do you know what a tournament is?
Like a game where you play against someone.
A game where you play against someone? What do you think, Clay?
It's like, basically what Daddy said.
So, the sisters would play a match or a game against someone else, and then whoever wins would play the winner of another game. And then if you keep winning, you just keep playing until you lose.
Like playoffs?
Yeah, kind of like playoffs. That's right. Same idea. Playing on Compton's public courts kept the girls hidden from much of the tennis circuit, but when Venus won every single one of her 63 junior tournaments by age 10, with Serena not far behind, word of the Williams sisters spread. "Whatever you become in your head first," their mother preached daily. With their talent grew confidence. At 12, Venus announced she would win Wimbledon. So I think this is really important to point out that their mom told them every day, whatever you become in your head first. meaning that it's really important that you encourage yourself and you remind yourself of all the strengths and the talents that you have. Because if you're not telling yourself positive things about how good you are, it's going to be very difficult for you to be confident and to know that you can achieve your goals. So at 12, she said she was going to win Wimbledon, which is like the highest, best tournament that you can win. So that shows that she had a lot of confidence at age 12 to say that, right? In 1994, at 14 years old, Venus played her first professional match at the Bank of the West Classic in California. Tennis critics took notice after the young newcomer's combination shots, and her return of serve helped her soar past higher-ranking players to advance to the second round. Overnight, Venus went from an unclassified ranking to number 313 in the world. Your time will come, Venus comforted Serena, sad to be not sharing the spotlight with her sister. 1 year later, it was Serena's turn. Within 3 short years, both girls ranked in the top 50. Long-legged, brown-skinned, beaded cornrowed sisters stood out in a sea of white tennis attire, white fans, and white opponents. They dressed as they pleased in their own designs. During matches, they hit so hard sometimes the rubber bands in their hair broke, scattering beads across the court. Tennis had never seen anything quite like them. So tennis is typically known as a sport that a lot of white people play. And so it was describing them as, or describing the setting as there were a lot of white people, there were a lot of white fans, there was a lot of white tennis clothes. And so they really stood out. And so they were really successful and some of the first Black women to be so great in their sport, which is awesome, isn't it? Many tennis fans cheered the energy and powerful playing of 2 fresh faces in tennis, but sometimes the sisters were threatened, booed, and taunted by others not happy to see them competing in a nearly all-white sport. They'd heard those words years earlier when their father brought in busloads of neighborhood kids to surround the practice courts as they played. Do your best, he told the kids, and paid each and every one to hurl the worst words their daughters might hear during their matches. Wow. Now, whenever those same words tumbled from the stands, they fell as flat as secondhand tennis balls. Words and gunshots, hatred and doubt couldn't slow the rise of the 2 sisters who called themselves the greatest story in tennis. So there were people who did not like for these girls to be playing tennis because it's a typically white sport, and so they weren't used to seeing such successful, great, talented Black women playing. And so unfortunately, a lot of the fans were very unkind, but their dad had helped them prepare for this because he brought in kids from the neighborhood to stand around the tennis court and to boo and say unkind things so that the girls would begin to have mental toughness and to be able to block it out. What do you think about how they were treated?
No.
It wasn't nice? Yeah? What else?
It wasn't fair.
It wasn't fair because do you think that they should be able to play the sport? Absolutely, right? They loved the same bands, laughed at the same jokes, wore the same clothes, only on the court were they different. There, Serena was as strong as Venus was fast. Venus was as gracious as Serena was aggressive. Venus's long legs could carry her cross court in a couple of strides. At 130 miles per hour, her serve broke a world record. Serena chased down every ball, drilling them back to her opponents with high-powered ground strokes. I hate losing more than I love winning, Serena told reporters. While their family again sat quietly in the stands, Venus served big for the first set and took the lead, but Serena broke serve and won. The second set was hard-fought, and the sisters rallied with down-the-line combinations, skidding from sideline to baseline until the final match point, when Venus cracked the ball into the net, and the moment belonged to Serena. In 2 sets of 7-5 and 6-3, a victorious Serena stepped out of the shadow of her sister. Venus ran off the court as curious eyes of the crowd followed her. High in the stands, Venus sprinted, snatched up her bag, and pulled out a camera. Nothing can keep me from celebrating when my best friend wins a match, Venus said proudly. The crowd stood to applaud, and Venus snapped shot after shot of Serena on the victory stand. Ranked numbers 1 and 2 in the world, Venus now followed Serena. Mika and V, 2 peas in a pod, best friends and sisters, celebrated being numbers 1 and 2 in life and in tennis. So how do they act when one of them wins?
They're happy for each other.
Yes. And they build each other up and they encourage each other, right? And they celebrate. So they were very supportive of each other, which really helped them get far, you know? So what did you think of the book?
I think it was great
Think it was great? Why did you think it was great?
because they were playing a sport that no one, unlike when black people played, and they still played.
Yeah, they kept going even though it was hard and even though they were different than other people in the sport, right? Because they knew that they were important and they mattered and that they could be there too, right? What did you like?
I liked how they played tennis and how they encouraged each other.
How they encourage each other. Yes, just like you two can encourage each other, right?
Yeah.